So the first thing I do when I'm trying to find a scene when I'm outside is I walk around, and that sounds really silly, but you know, walking around, moving around, and you will find all sorts of things. But how do you find them? Just by looking, by opening your eyes, and also having a little awareness of what it is that you really enjoy in a scene. So knowing the kind of things that you want to look for. We should also be aware that actually a scene is viewable from so many different places. So as we move around, something which looks boring from one angle might look amazing from another. Something which looks complicated from one angle might look so simple and achievable from another. So for example, this odd scene caught my eyes, and it caught my eyes because I know what I enjoy. I enjoy shapes. And we got this rectangle here, we got this rectangle, triangle, another triangle. There's like a rectangle hidden behind the triangle. We got these little shapes and all these windows forming shapes, and look how they all interact. They're all overlapping. But I didn't sketch a scene, and why not? Well, because the other thing I look for are some fun details. For me, all the shapes are here in this bit, but there isn't something to draw the attention to. There isn't like a nice set of windows or a colourful flag. It's just lacking something. So what I could either do some really quick thumbnail sketches of this scene and see if it works better than I expect, or I can move on and keep my little walk going. So that's what I'm going to do instead. Scenes can just emerge as well. So take this little house behind us. It looks pretty boring from here, I would say. Not really inspiring, lots of different weird greens, nothing clear, no obvious shape. But with a slightly inquisitive mind, we just walk around the corner and suddenly this hedge gets out of the way and we've got a really beautiful, varied coloured, but not too complicated row of houses that we could set about sketching and having a bit of fun with. The next challenge is, where do we sit? There's not exactly anywhere I'd like to sit around here, but you know, that doesn't mean we can't sketch something. So today I'm just going to do a really quick sketch of these little houses from this view that we found just by walking around, and I'm going to do it standing. So standing to sketch is definitely a different skill in many ways. And there isn't a right way to do it. So I've got my little IKEA mallet case again, and I've actually stitched in a couple of straps, which means I can hold up my case. But just experiment, find the solution that works for you. Now, again, this is going to be a really quick process, and you can see that actually my straps aren't out because they got in the way of the camera. So equally, there are other solutions. Like for me, I'm just holding my case now and balancing things on top of this case. And what am I going to do? I'm using a quick process. So this is a medium nibbed Lamy Safari pen with Lamy black ink in it. And I'm just going to find the shapes really quickly. This ink is soluble, and you can see I've got my water brush in front. And the reason that a soluble ink and my water brush are great is because this is a really quick way of sketching. I am stood up. I don't want to be here for ages. And I can assure you my hand is already aching a little bit. So we adapt. We can still explore our scene. And like I always say, whenever I do a sketching outside video, everything goes wrong. Nothing is perfect. It's impossible to have the perfect day outside unless your perfect day outside is expecting it to be a little bit challenging. So I'm just finding really big shapes, because that's how we know we'll get the scene quickly. We've got rectangles for the roof, we've got circles for the trees, we've got a square for the chimney. There's this lovely gate, and I want to make a bit of that. The gate then turns into a really long fence covering the entire breadth of this house, but I know that will take way too long to do in good detail, so I'm going to just replace some of it with a little suggestion of a hedge and just ignore some of it, do it really loose. And at the moment you might be thinking, oh my word, this is just way too loose. But remember, we build things up. This is just the first step where we are touching our ink in at the very beginning. Then, having got my really big shapes, great, we can move on to the smaller shapes, the squares, the rectangles which make up the doors, and the circles and ovals which make up the little trees. Moving just from right to left, you might have noticed this is basically all in a continuous line. Again, continuous line sketching, amazing technique for quick sketching. We just can't keep our pen going for that long, so if we're focused on keeping that continuous line going, we're bound to get ourselves a nice, quick, simplified, shape-based sketch. And that's exactly what I've managed to do here. Then I just, having got my main scene down, thinking, how do I balance this? So let's make something of these trees and bushes off to the right, just to balance out the scene. And maybe, now I've got this stuff on the right, a little bit more on the left. We need a little bit more on the left. And we can call that done. And look, I've only got one hand to close up my pen, one hand to open up my other pen, my brush pen, but still we can do it, we can achieve it. It just requires a little bit of moving. So moving my hand now, it just keeps getting tired in that other position. And really quickly, step 2 is applying that value. And look how quickly and easily this water brush and this ink, this is just the normal Lamy ink, remember? Just see how quickly this image really comes to life and becomes something else, something really exciting. All we have to do is sort of float around the page, doing a little bit here, a little bit there. And again, remembering to highlight the bits which are key to us. You can see a little bit of blue coming out. And that's because I haven't washed my brush pen that well. And the last sketch I was doing involved a lot of bright blues. So that's where I'm getting these blue tinges from. It's not special ink, it's just a dirty brush. So again, these happy accidents are what you get from being quick and being loose. That blue, I think, is working really well, and I wouldn't have done it on purpose. It's just because I'm outside and sketching really quickly. And these are the happy accidents which just happen when you are loose. When you apply yourself to loose techniques, you can have amazing things happen. All I'm doing now is trying to find little areas where I think a tiny bit more tone, a bit more value would bring something extra. And just looking around, taking a little step back, looking up, looking down at my scene and going, yep, you know what, that's all right. So now we have to work out how to do our colours. Now I don't mind at all saying this took me a little bit of problem solving, but eventually I got them balanced. And we're just going to go straight in with our lovely water brush. Again, just got the one hand free for painting and popping in some cobalt blue. So my immediate thought was, oops, that is way too much blue, too much pigment. But look, the advantage of water brush is it's full of water. So we can now apply a lot of water to the page, move things around, just push them around, free them up, loosen up those colours. Now, I have no issue combining greens and blues. Blue is a part of green, it's how you mix it. So letting these colours, this blue, run through these trees, actually I find a really appealing way of painting, of sketching, and of producing my lovely greens and getting the natural objects to flow together. I'm using a bit of Cascade green and now a bit of gold green as a two-tone approach to create a different balance of light and dark. And I talked about how there were lots of different greens at the beginning and really just to make sure we get that variation. Here I've even mixed in a little bit of red just to dull it down. Red and green are complementary colours, so when you mix them they become more neutral, more dull. Here's a little bit more red, again just in that roof, so red and blue not complementary, but they will create a lovely warm purple. And we can just play with a few different colours. So now I'm just thinking, actually that warmth is something I want a bit more of, a bit of quinacridone sienna in the roof. And again, a little stop, a little look, decide what else can I do, what else is a good idea. And actually I think there's enough going on. So a few splashes for texture to enhance that feeling of warmth, and then we'll come back when it's dried and see what happens. So we're on to step 3. We're going to restructure again, but also add a bit of value. This page took ages to dry, by the way. Really interesting to note, when you're outside, drying times can change dramatically. They can be really long, really short, and it can be really surprising because it's the humidity which matters, not just the sun or the heat or the wind. So today it took forever. So I had a nice little wander up and down the street while I waited for it to dry. And that gave me time to think and relax and let my hand rest as well. And all I'm going to do now is basically repeat my continuous line, but focusing really on getting those shapes back. We use soluble ink, so the shapes have melted a bit. We've lost details, like that little TV aerial's completely gone. But it's fine. We can come back and we can add them. Where we've lost the details, we've got that lovely glow of ink instead. And now we can add in a few extra textures, suggestion of roof tiles. We can move around our image and just create what I like to call ink loading. So what I mean by that is we are finding where we think the darkest areas are going to be. We add some bold lines there. Now those bold lines not just suggest darkness on their own, but they also imply a lot of ink has been left on the page. When there's a lot of ink, it means we can come back with our water brush again and create some really dark structured shadows. And with a really dark line, a lot of that line will still be left even after our colours. So that's what we're going to do now. In some of these bold areas, we are going to bring across our shadow. Notice how, like I said, not only are we getting a dark shadow, but because we got that bold line, a lot of that line still stays behind. So we can now really enhance those impressive shadows, make them feel bold, make them, well, impressive, make the shape and the punch and the contrast much more. And all of this step, because we're using lovely soluble ink, is so quick, so easy, so functional that I can even do it standing up. And that is what I want to get across most of all in this video, is that it's okay to sketch outside and not be comfy. Being comfortable will be something different for all of us. Working out how to do something will be a different solution for all of us. And that's all we need to do. And with that, my sketch is done. And I can move away, feel happy, go to the next one. Now, if you've enjoyed this, please do like and subscribe. It's a huge support to my channel. And if you want to check out more of my courses, go to sketchloose.co.uk, where I have a free course, and there's a link to that as well in the description below. So thank you everyone for watching my little sketching videos. If you enjoy my content, please do subscribe to my channel because it makes me really, really happy. Thanks again.